Hi everybody, Jake here for FMSCOUT and welcome to today's video where I'm looking at my Wonderkid Dream 11 of FM21. Of course, FM21 is coming towards the end of its life cycle now, and just like I did on FM20, I'm going to make a video of my 11 favourite Wonderkids from my experience on Football Manager. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're the best Wonderkids, just from my experience, and what I'd really want you guys to do before you go and skip ahead is let me know in the comments maybe your Wonderkid Dream 11 if you want to do that, or if you don't have that much time to write a comment, I know some of you don't, just drop one player or two players or three players, whatever you want to do, Wonderkids that you've really enjoyed using on this year's save. Let me know why, if there's a story behind it, or just let me know the name. So with that being said guys, I won't waste any more of your time, so let's take a look at my Dream 11 of FM21, and if you do enjoy this kind of video, hit the like button, it really helps in pushing these videos out to more people, and subscribe to the channel ahead of FM22 so you don't miss any of our content. And let's get into it. Okay, so starting off in the goalkeeping position, and I've gone for 18-year-old Belgian Martin van der Voort. He plays for Genk. He is the highest rated goalkeeper in terms of potential ability on Football Manager this year. If you are an eagle-eyed viewer of the channel, you will know that we did a similar kind of video to this, my Dream 11, as of before the winter update, I think it was, in FM21, so it was just before they did the winter update, and I had Ilan Meslier, and I mentioned Van der Voort, and I said I hadn't picked him because I hadn't used him yet, and I just wasn't sure on him. Outside of Donnarumma, who I think is now too old to be classed as a Wonderkid in Football Manager, I don't usually take the risk of going for a young goalkeeper, but it was in my personal Mansfield save where we actually signed this guy a few years in from Liverpool, actually, where he'd moved from quite early on in the save. And he was really, really good for us. Like, he was outstanding. I always find it quite hard to talk about goalkeeping attributes in terms of a Wonderkid, but you can see with Van der Voort here, he is very good. He's got a really good base level of attributes to build upon, isn't particularly lacking in a certain area, maybe his communication, but who really cares? Yeah, he's 18 years of age, he can grow a lot, he's not the world's cheapest. Yeah, Van der Voort is my goalkeeper. The less I talk about him, the better, because goalkeepers for me, I don't know what to say about them. So let's move on to our defence. So moving on to the left back position, I've actually gone for Matteo Ruggeri, and I know there's going to be a lot of you guys screaming at the laptop or your phone, whatever you're watching this on right now, saying, where's Nuno Mendes? Don't get me wrong, I love Nuno Mendes. We've actually just signed him in my Lazio save, which if you want to check out, that's linked in the description. A lot of you guys have came over and have really enjoyed it, and a big thank you as well to you guys who have came over and helped me get to 3,000 subscribers before FM22. That really does mean a lot, but still feel free to check out the Lazio save, you might enjoy it. There's still plenty to do before FM22 comes around, and hopefully we can win the Champions League with them. But Matteo Ruggeri, I actually prefer him to Nuno Mendes, and I don't mean that he's better. I don't mean to say that he's better in game or his attributes are better or anything like that. I just think the way that you can just straight away in this game approach to sign Ruggeri, whereas Mendes can be anywhere between like 30 to 50 million pounds. I actually had to pay 40 million pounds for him most recently with Lazio in my second season. I think Ruggeri at the start of FM21, when a lot of teams are COVID hit and don't have the finances, I always try and pick him up if I can. I mean, you'll do well to beat this lot to him. You're going to be competing with some of the best. But the fact that his starting attributes look like this, and for me, people are going to think I'm stupid, but I think if he ups a couple of attributes here, he's already a starting Premier League left back. Physicals, you can't complain. Mentals, you can't complain. Maybe positioning needs a bit of work in his actual defending with like marking, so maybe you train him on defensive positioning. I think other than that, you're sorted in terms of a left back here. Definitely more of an attacker than he is a defender in that defensive position, but that is what the modern day fullbacks are all about. I love Ruggeri at Atalanta, the Italian, approach to sign, pick him up, pay a bit of compensation. I think he makes an awesome left back, and I've loved using him in my time on FM21. Now on the opposite end of the spectrum, speaking of a player who is extremely hard to transfer into your team, but it's someone that I've had so much experience with, being a Chelsea fan. I love managing Chelsea, and it was the first save I did on FM21. I did not expect that Reece James would be the best player of the series though, which he was. He helped us win the Champions League, he captained the club, he had a 5-star in terms of his star rating. I know if you've watched my video, star rating isn't the be all and end all of things, but he was so good. I mean, he was hitting 7.6s, 7.5s across his first season in terms of average match rating across all competitions. He was insane. Reece James, what a talent he was in FM21. Absolutely loved him. In my personal opinion, and I know there are some that can maybe compete with him in terms of potential and attributes, but for me, Reece James is the best right back in FM21 in terms of a Wonderkid. Let's move on to my two centre backs. So for the first person in our centre back pairing, I've gone for Tanguy Nianzou. Now, he is someone that I hadn't used until very recently. When I did this video before Christmas, I believe I picked Namdi Collins at the back after doing a Wonderkid Superstar episode on him. He was insane in terms of his physicals, but if you're looking for someone who is an absolute physical monster, then you don't need to look any further than Nianzou. The 18-year-old Frenchman, with the right development, in a few years' time, he can have all of these physicals as 15 pluses, 16 pluses, and I'm not even kidding. He becomes a physical monster who is quick and strong, and if you have played FM21 enough, you'll know that in the match engine, physicals are hugely important this year. But that's not to say that he lacks anywhere else either. Mentally, he's very good for his age, as he is technically. He is fairly hard to get your hands on permanently, but if you keep an eye on him, you can eventually get him. And in the save I did have him, wow, like, I mean, them physicals with the fact that he can head a ball so well and his jumping reach is going to get bigger. He scores a load of headers, he's really quick. Yes, maybe he's not the world's best defender, but he'll get there in a bit of time. He can pass the ball too, which is great. He is super good in FM, and hopefully we'll see that play out in real life too. So thank you, Nianzu, for your service in FM21. Now let's move on to my second centre-back in the back four. Okay, so before we actually look at the real centre-back that I've chosen, honorary mention to Anil Ahmedhodzic, who is no longer classed as a Wonderkid, I don't believe, as he is 21 years old. But for me, he's a super signing. I've signed him for my Lazio save, which again, you can check out on my channel. I had him in my Lille save too. I had him in my Chelsea save. I've bought him in so many saves, and he's always so good. He's an absolute dominant presence at corners. Had to give a tip of my hat to Ahmedhodzic at the end of FM21 here. So thank you, Ahmedhodzic. Now let's move on to the actual centre-back that I've chosen, which is Josko Gvardiol. He is absolutely awesome. He's on the opposite end of the spectrum to someone like Ruggeri because he is going to cost you a lot of money. He plays for Leipzig. He's out on loan at Dinamo Zagreb out in Croatia. I believe this guy is one of the best you can get. He lacks in no area at all. I love his physicals, I love his mentals, I love his technicals too. He's a great passer of the ball, and the fact that he's left-footed makes him one of the most sought-after defenders in the game. I think you'll be seeing a lot of this guy in real life too at Leipzig now. Hopefully he gets a good run out for them, and maybe we'll see a big move one day to one of the elite clubs in the world. No offence to Leipzig, but you know, I expect to see this guy playing for a Bayern Munich, a PSG, a Real Madrid, whoever in the future. I think he is that good. There's going to be a ton of players way cheaper than Gvardiol, but if you can actually get this guy in your team, strong, quick, great mentally, great technically, what more do you want? He is awesome at the back, and when I've used him, yeah, I've never wanted to replace him. He's awesome. So let's move on to my midfield three now. Okay, into our midfield, and remember to comment down below your favourite Wonderkids or your full Dream 11 if you want to. I really want to check it out and speak to you guys about who you've picked in your teams and why you've done so. But for me, Iliax Mariba, should I say. I don't really know how you pronounce his first name, so I'm just going to call him Mariba. He plays for Barcelona. He's, of course, joined Leipzig in real life. Another Wonderkid that's been swooped off the market that we probably won't be able to sign first season, at least, in FM22 when it eventually does come out. I can't say I've watched this guy play in real life too many times, but if he plays in real life like he does in FM, Barcelona have let a real beast go because physically he is immense. And after a bit of growth, bear in mind he's only 17, he can reach the very, very top in FM21. And these physicals can all be off the charts. He's a real beast of a presence in midfield. Not only does he try tricks and has a lot of flair, he's really good on the ball in terms of his technique, his passing, his creation of chances, but he's also a great goal scorer, and he's a real good all-round midfielder, everything boxed up into this powerhouse of a midfielder. A lot of people have referred to him in the past as the new Pogba because of how all-round he is, and he's a good physical presence as well as being just really delicate and skillful on the ball. I think Mariba is going to have a great future in real life football. He's going to be a Wonderkid for a few more years to come yet. Mariba for me has to be in my midfield. I love this guy, and now let's move on to the cheaper options in my midfield. Playing in my midfield three alongside Mariba is someone that's nowhere near the well-known level of Mariba, but Uriel Celli, should I say, the Peruvian 18-year-old. He is one of the most talked about under the radar Wonderkids to the point where I don't think he's any longer under the radar. Shout out to Omega Luke who did a great video on this guy, and since then he's been a must sign in my save, and I actually consider him one of the only players I'd actually load up a whole league just to get. Yeah, he plays for Cancelao out in the first division in Peru, and the best thing about him is the fact that yes, he's 18 and he's got plenty of room to grow. He starts with some amazing technical attributes. The price that you can get him for is absolutely insane, way under £1 million usually. I always think with Celli, not only would I load a whole league for him, but it almost seems like someone's just gone, yeah, I know him, he's my mate, I'm going to boost up all his attributes. But how can someone this good, and no offence to the Peruvian divisions, but how can someone this good just be sitting in the league like that? And no one's really tried to go for him, no one's tried to sign him, he's quite unknown, unheard of. If he is really this good in real life, and he might have even had a move, that's the kind of thing I don't know about him, I never hear about him in real life football. If he is this good, I want to see him play in the Premier League, because look at these attributes. These technical attributes mean that he must be one of the silkiest ball players at his age I've ever seen. So Uriel Celli has to fit in my team. I've used him in a few saves. He is always a great pickup, makes you loads of money if you decide to sell him on. What a guy. What a player. let's move on to our third midfielder now. Speaking of cheap beasts, Burak Ince was someone that I did a Wonderkid to Superstar episode on, probably about midway through FM21. It got a really good response, and a lot of the Turkish viewers watching were really hyping this guy up. They have a lot of faith in this guy and see him as almost the future of Turkish football, and I hope to see it play out because in the simulation that we did with him, he became an amazing player, and for the price you can get him from Altınordu out in Turkey, he was really, really good. I mean, in terms of a playmaking midfielder, there wasn't anyone better than him in the world by the time he developed into what he could potentially develop into in your guys' saves. Yes, physically he's probably not the best, and mentally he's not the best, but this guy, I don't know what it is, he just holds a special place in my heart after that Wonderkid Superstar episode. Everyone seemed to love him, and technically he is awesome. I mean, at the age of 16 to have those technicals, Chelly was great, but remember, he was 18. Burak Ince at 16 here, by the time he's 18, you're going to be looking at a completely different player physically, mentally, and even technically. And if these technicals go up, he is by far one of the players with the best technique in the world. I had a lot of people saying that he's actually referred to as the Turkish Messi out in Turkey. I don't know whether that's a bit too much hype on the guy's name, whether it's a bit too much pressure, but wow, what a player this guy was. Burak Ince, he is the third player in my midfield three. Now let's move on to my forward three, and let's just say the talent levels are about to fly off the charts. So, on one wing of my forward three, I've gone for Raul Moro. The Spaniard plays for Lazio out in the Serie A. Of course, I'm managing Lazio on my channel, and I'd almost resigned to losing him right at the start. I just assumed that he'd always leave on a free, because that's what happened in every save. He always got approached to sign, should I say, as opposed to leaving on a free. But yeah, teams always came for him. He always moved on. I thought there's no way we're going to hang on to him, and he decided to stay. And since then, at the age of 18, I've trained him into a striker. He's banging in the goals. We sent him out on loan to Udinese, where he's the third best goal scorer in the league, I think, already at the age of 18. Can't wait for him to come back into my team, but it goes to show how good this guy is. He can play up front and on the wing perfectly. Raul Moro, if you can get your hands on him at the start of a save, just approach to sign him, let him sit in your youth team, and I'm telling you, just like Gavi would do, and I haven't picked Gavi in this list, but yeah, just like Gavi would do, you pick them up, you let them sit in your youth team, and eventually they'll either become star players for you or make you tens of millions of pounds in the future. Raul Moro is a superstar. I love the guy, and now let's move on to the other wing before we go to the striker that you probably are waiting for, and you probably already know who I'm going to pick. Okay, so the other wing we've gone for is Christos Tzoulis, playing for PAOK out in Greece. He is now actually joined, was it Norwich? I think he joined in the Premier League, so I'm actually really excited to see him play. But Tzoulis is another one like Burak Ince, where he just has a place in my heart because of the Wonderkid to Superstar episodes. Much like the Turkish viewers that we had on Burak Ince, the Greek viewers really got behind Tzoulis. They absolutely love him. I think he was a superstar when we developed. I mean, it's called Wonderkid to Superstar, but he really just underlined that word superstar when he developed into the player that he eventually did. He was great in all areas. I mean, he already is at the start of a save. Not the world's cheapest player. I mean, if we look here, yeah, we'd have to pay over the odds because he's just signed a new contract apparently. But he does become very, very good. I'm excited to see him play in the Premier League if he does for Norwich. I think he's got a bright future ahead of him, potentially the future of Greek football if he can live up to his name. A right-footed player playing on the left wing, it's what I love the most, an inside forward on that side. He is great. I love Tzoulis, but there's someone that I love a little bit more, and we're about to get onto him right now. And who else could it have been, guys, other than Yusufa Moukoko, the guy who I believe will be the best Wonderkid striker for 3 or 4 years in Football Manager, unless some serious talent comes along. He is one of the best Wonderkids, if not the best Wonderkid we've seen in FM for a long, long time. The 15-year-old German who usually goes on to play for Cameroon. I really don't need to say much about him. If you've watched our video on him, then great, you know how good he is. If you haven't, then check it out because this guy became the world's best player, and I don't say that lightly. He had become the best football player to ever have lived, and you can almost see why, because at the age of 15, I would assume he was a Premier League natural goal-scoring striker based on his attributes here. Model citizen, perfect physicals, really good technicals, really good mentally too, and what's that? Oh, he's only 15 years of age. What the hell is going on here at Borussia Dortmund? This guy is insane, and the best thing about him, if you wait a couple of years, usually by the end of the second season, you can pick him up for a free. How that is possible, I don't know. Oof. Borussia Dortmund are just a Wonderkid factory at the minute, and Moukoko, I'm really excited to see what he does in real life. I'm excited to see what he's like in FM22 as well. I'm sure that he's probably going to be the best, or if not one of the best strikers in the game. He's done crazy, crazy things in FM21. Anyone who's used him, I'm sure, will tell you the same. Wow, what a player. Moukoko finishes off our Dream 11 of Wonderkids. Let me know in the comments, guys, who you would have in your team. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and feel free to check out my channel, links in the description too. This probably won't be the end of FM21 videos on the channel. There'll probably be a few more yet, but I just want to say a big thank you for how much you've supported the channel over this time, and me, of course, as well, because about a year ago now I started on FMSCOUT, and you guys have supported me the whole way, back when it was just me speaking with no face cam to now me being on camera. I hope to improve the content. Do let me know if there's anything you'd like me to do to improve the way it's laid out, or the way that I do it. But yeah, I'll stop talking now. Thank you guys for watching the video, and hopefully I'll see you next time round. So everyone get excited for FM22, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Goodbye.